guys, welcome back to the channel. So we've got a bit of an update. I'd say this is a bit more of an update on DK as it stands. This is something that's a bit more definitive, let's say. And it really does ruffle the feathers of the TFL and sort of Luna situation. And even USTC as it stands could be part of this whole wave that's coming. It's not something that I would think USTC is clear of, especially with how this one's panned out. If you've been following this on the channel here, you would know that I actually said he's going to get extradited to the likelihood America, because America love to make an example of people. They really like to take these crypto heroes and put them on the stand and use them as like kind of like how they use an SBF, you know, to show off how good they are at cracking down on this. It's really good for their public image, let's say. So there's a lot of whispers going on and there's a lot of different articles, but one of these articles actually contains a link, and it's actually to the High Court out in Montenegro. And this basically it explains, I'm not going to read all of it because it's a lot of legal stuff, but at the very bottom, it does explain it that if the Minister of Justice allows the final extradition of the previously named defendant, the extradition shall take place after the execution of the criminal sanction pronounced before the basic court in Podgorica, I'm sorry if I butchered that, in the case against him for the criminal offence of falsification of a document. So in connection with paragraph 1 of the criminal code in Montenegro, in which case he was legally sentenced and imprisoned to 4 months. This part's really important. I wanted to get this out of the way first, just for people who don't actually know where he is, what happened, and what's kind of going on. Now in here, it explains that he did give consent to be extradited to the competent authorities of the Republic of South Korea, according to a shortened procedure. However, the High Court of Podgorica found that it should still be decided as in the wording of a respective decision, because in the specific case it was on extradition to which several states have appealed. So several states have appealed to get this guy, right? So the primacy is still regulated by the provisions Art 22 of the Law of International Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters, when the minister will decide which country has priority in the case of possible extradition, from which it follows that the Minister of Justice of Montenegro will make the final decision in this matter. And I think we all know how this is going to swing, right? Because what I think is going to happen is, if he ever makes it back to South Korea and doesn't get sentenced to life in jail in America, he's going to get punished back there too. So this is going to be a round trip for him and the beginning of something quite awful that he's probably going to be going through over the next possible years. And to be quite honest, this is going to be something the SEC really can get their teeth into, because they have released an official press release about the SEC's charges for Terraform and CEO Do Kwon with defrauding investors in crypto schemes. And I've been doing a little bit of like deeper diving as to, you know, a CEO leaving a company and supposedly that company being fine. And that's just not the case. If laws have been broken, they're going to go after TFL regardless of who the CEO is now. It's all something, and it's all stuff that's possible, right? We never ever want to sit and think to ourselves, no, this can't happen, when honestly, we've seen CZ Binance, the man himself, step down as CEO. If that's not a sign for everybody as to what the governments are realistically doing with these hero type figures that really give the crypto community inspiration and keeps people together and sort of shuts down a lot of the FUD that gets spread, you start to understand how big this thing is. And it's us against the financial sector, and they're going to do everything that they can to get hold of these criminals that have defrauded people. And we need to get to the bottom of this. And this is something that's always going to be an issue. And it's going to be in the back of our minds, I think, for a long time, until this all comes out in the wash as to what happened, who's responsible. Because we've seen more or less leaked messages, and they're supposed to have been taken out of context, and it's all about falsifying transactions pre-crash and stuff like that. And it's all of this stuff's going to get dragged out in court. So I think it's really interesting. But for me, I personally think this is the road to the US. And, you know, a lot of these people are they're actually saying the mass media he's going to the US, but realistically, as it stands, the final decision's not made. And what I'll do is I'll update everybody as soon as anything of substance and anything definitive as to where he's going and what's going on, because once they get him on his way to America, those legal proceedings are going to be going underway. They're going to get on top of this as quick as they can, because we've got BTC halving on the horizon. This is the perfect thing. It's like the perfect XRP moment all over again for them to try and sort of drag down DeFi, which will ultimately drag down the whole market, because we're interconnected in this big sea of crypto. Folks, consider subscribing, consider dropping a like, hit the notifications bell if you haven't already. Consider subscribing to our Patreon. It really does help a small channel out like this grow. Other than that, folks, stay safe, stay humble, stay aware, and as always, we will catch you in the next one.